Alright, hi. So in my last video, I was walking you guys through how to read data from files, how to read text data from files. And then we got to the point where we were reading a high score table from a text file over here. And in this text file, we're using a separator of a colon to separate three pieces of data on every line. We've got the position, we've got the user's name, and we've also got their score. So let's go through this, and let's say we want to add additional scores on there, but then after that, if it gets appended at the bottom, we're going to have to be able to sort this high score table so it's in order from highest score down to the lowest. So let's get started. So currently in our data we already have it sorted according to the way it is, but let's say we add another one. Maybe I'll do something like this, and let's do a score like that. So it should be really right here in the second position. So if we run this and we print it out, we're getting it down there at the end. We don't want that. We want it sorted. So in order to do this, we're going to make use of a function in Python called sorted. Okay, and so if we redefine high score table to be equal to sorted high score table, that should sort our data. However, we haven't added enough parameters here to actually have it sort the way we want it to. So let's take a look. Yeah, and so here, it's not supported between instances of dictionary and dictionary. These are dictionaries in a list. So this function isn't going to give us the results we want to sort our items, because they're dictionaries. If they were just strings, a list of strings, it would have worked perfectly. So we need to be able to give it a couple more parameters in order to determine how we want it sorted. Okay, so I'm going to make a separate function, and what we need to do is we need to tell which field in each line we want to sort against. Do we want to sort against the position? Do we want to sort against the name? Do we want to sort against the score? And the score is what we want. And so I'm making this function sorted key. This is going to pass in the item, each line from our high score table. And it's going to do a really simple thing. All I'm going to do is return the sorted key that I want. So for this, I'm going to do item equals, and when we bring it in as a dictionary, and we want score there. So in high score table, notice that at this point, it's a dictionary, and the parameter we want, the key we want to sort against, is score. So that's why I'm returning item score, because then it identifies that's the key we want to sort against. Okay, so now we're going to add a parameter here, key equals, and this is where I'm going to call the function. Now this might look a little bit different. What about my brackets? What about my passing an argument in? This is a little bit different with this. What it's doing, what this function does, is it iterates through our iterable, which in this case is a list, and by setting a key value, it's going to recognize that this is a function, and it's going to call that function to retrieve the key, and it's going to call it on each item in this. So we don't need to specify explicitly what we're passing in. It will do that with each item in high score table for us. Now let's see what we've got. Now, just as we're doing this, I don't like how it's really awkward to see the order of this. So let's just quickly make a function that can print it out nicer. Print high scores. I'm going to pass in a data table, and for score in data table. Let's print out score. Okay. So rather than this, let's just do print highscores, and let's run that. And there we go. Now notice that if you look at position, of course, that's not in order. But let's look at the score. Now 1655, that's the lowest, and this is all in order ascending. However, that's not exactly how we want it. We want it flipped, so that the highest score is at the top. Okay. So let's add an additional parameter on sorted, and the additional parameter is reverse, and it's a Boolean, and I'm going to set that to true. By default, it is false. Okay. And now we've got the highest score at the top, and it is sorted in descending order. Beautiful. Now, position is still not quite right. And to be honest, as I think about this, I'm not sure we actually need position. But, even if we were to keep that, and let's say we wanted to go through and update the position for each one, we can do that. And so, what I would do, we can do it with the print highscores table, or actually maybe we'll even make a separate function to assign positions. Let's do that. So for score in data table, and what we'll do is we're going to assume at this point it's sorted. We're passing in sorted data. Okay. So now let's assign our positions here. Let's set POS equal to 1, and for each score in data table, all we're going to do is go score position is equal to POS, and then POS plus equals 1. So initially it's going to be 1, and it's just going to go through. Assuming this is already sorted by score, we're just updating the value of position to match the correct value. Right? So now we're grabbing the high score table, we're sorting it, and then we're printing it. Now after we're sorted, let's know what we can do. We can either do it on a separate line, assign positions, high score table. We can do that. Let's see if that works. Oh, we've got an issue. None type object is not iterable. And so data table is, so that's a problem, isn't it? Oh, so after I do this, you probably caught it. I'm updating all of that, but then I'm not returning it. So I need to return it. That's the problem. If we don't have a return value, then, and because we're making high score table equal to that, the default return value is a none type. So let's update that. And now we've got sorted by score, correct positions, beautiful. And now we can start to clean it up. This is a little too much. We can reorder some of this. We've got our high score table. We've got our assigned positions to update that. You know what? Let's sort and process. I'm going to change this so that essentially what I want to do is I'm going to use this and I'm going to make data table equal to data table. And so I'm going to sort it right in here. We can get rid of that line. And as soon as we finish sorting it, it also assigns the correct position and then returns it. That way you can do it all in a single line, all in a single function. Yeah. Beautiful. And now, rather than just printing this, because that still is kind of ugly, isn't it? What I would do, what I'd rather see us do, is let's print, let's do that, space, that, and that, dot format, and I'm going to first print out position, and then score name, and then score. That way, we don't have all that ugly extra stuff of the dictionaries. That looks a lot better, doesn't it? We've got the position, we've got the name, and we've got the score. Lovely. Okay. Now, do we have a function here to add a high score? And so we kind of do. We've got an add data function here, where if you have to pass in file name, and we've got our new information, but this isn't really formatting. It doesn't follow the same convention that our file is supposed to have. What we want is a function it's called add high score. Let's do it right here. Add high score, and I want to have a few different parameters. Let's have their name and their score. Okay, we don't know what the position is, and that doesn't really matter so much because we're going to process it and update that position anyways, right? And so let's do that. And so what we're going to do, we've got file name, which is a global variable. And so what high score is going to do is I'm going to make a variable that's new line, and we need to give it some number for position. It has to be some value. You can't just give it anything. So let's do that. I don't know, give it a really big one. Okay. There we go. Dot format name score. That way, what we're doing is we're just crafting the string that we want to add to the end of our data file. And so now, if we go here, add data opens it, writes it to the end. It's append, and it closes it. So we're going to make use of this function right here. So we're going to call add data, and we're going to pass in new line and use that with file name. It's just a procedure, isn't it? We're not returning any values. We're just adding it to the line. Yeah. And so maybe down here, just to test it out, we can make a new variable with input and ask them for their name and ask them for their score. And now we're going to call that function, that procedure, add high score. There we go. And we're going to pass in new name and new score. Now, after we've done that, what do we want to do? We want to print it out again, don't we? So we could basically copy and paste all of this in. But if we know we want to do this every time we want to add a new high score anyways, what I'm thinking we should do is actually pass this in to our add high score procedure, so that all we need to do is call this, and it will add the new high score, make high score table equal to the new file, the new high score from the file. We're going to sort and process it and then print it again. Let's see if that works. Okay. And let's throw it right in the middle there. Oh, and we've got an error. Too many values to unpack. You might have seen the problem that I've got here. I need to append it with a new line, don't I? Yes, I do. And because it put it right at the end of the last user. Look at that. So that's okay. We can update that. So when we add our data, add our high score, we need to preface that with a /n. That will put the new data on a new line. Let's try that again. And there we go. Let's give it a new name and a score. Let's go with something in the middle there. Beautiful. And there's Andrew, 1866, and it's right sorted exactly where we want it. Look at that. Next thing I would probably do, throw a main while loop and provide a menu, and then you've essentially got your own high score program. You can add high scores. We'd probably want to add in a thing to remove high scores. But of course, the nice thing is at this point, since we're updating our high score table, it shouldn't be much to remove a line. What you'd probably want to do is have it where it pulls in all of the data as a list of dictionaries. Then you can have them choose which one they want to remove. You can delete that from our list, remove it from our list using the normal list remove functions, and then do a write on the file, which would overwrite our file with our new data. Maybe we'll do that in our next video. Thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful.